Namaskar, my name is Etika Majumdar, and today I have decided to discuss about Indian economy on the eve of independence, which is part of the class 11 ISC syllabus. So let's get started with the period of Indian economy on the eve of independence. So the British conquest of India started 1757 with the East India Company winning the Battle of Plassey, and England as a British East India Company, the British government, they have ruled India almost over 200 years, like middle of the 18th century to 1947. So, over the period of time, it was a continuous colonial exploitation, and what they left us with a poverty ridden country, backwardness, and the stagnant economy. These were the main features of Indian economy back then at the time of independence when we have got our independence. So, the Indian economy was very much poor, backward, and stagnant. So, at the time of their ruling, what they have done, they have uh, instituted few policies. They have instituted few policies, and previous policies they have abolished all of the previous policies that we had in our economic system, like basic agricultural policies that they have taken. First one was the land tenure system, the Permanent Land Settlement Act. They have introduced in 1793. In 1793, what they have done, they have introduced zamindari system. What the zamindari system? It was like, if I draw it as a pyramid, it was like zamindars, they were at the middle, peasants, they were at the down, and in upper section they were British government. They collected all the revenue, all the tax from zamindars, and zamindars used to suck all the revenues, all the productive taxes from the peasants, and they had to give all of those to the British government. This is a zamindari system, and there was also Raitwari system. They did not abolish the Raitwari system. They, in what is the basic difference between Raitwari and zamindari system? In case of Raitwari system, there were no intermediaries. Like in case of Raitwari system, the peasants, they directly used to give the British government all the taxes or all the revenues. What is the resultant? The resultant is the poverty. Why poverty? Because peasants or the farmers, they were left with nothing. There was low productivity. Irrespective of the production, they had to give the revenue, the taxes. So zamindars, their main intention was to collect all the revenues from the poor farmers, and this was only the motto of their collective activities. Like agricultural growth and agricultural development was nobody's interest at that period of time. So another system, they have another system of the policies they have introduced is commercialization of Indian agriculture. So in that case, they just substitute the food crops with the commercial crops. What are the commercial crops? Like the sugar cane, the cotton, and groundnuts. These are not the like edible crops. They have substituted all the food crops with the commercial crops, and the farmer, they have to produce all of those non-food crops. They had to produce those commercial crops instead of the food crops. So food scarcity had been increased. So this was a policy that they have introduced, like the commercialization of Indian agriculture. The third one is the decline of the handicraft industries due to British trade policies. What like the handicraft industries or the artisans, they used to produce their own products, and for in case of by doing the foreign trades, they used to earn profits and the revenue. But they, like the British government, they have increased the tariff rates, and all the products were very much costlier than the other British products. So the demand of the domestic goods and services that they are used to export, the Indian farmers or Indian producers are used to exports, all of these things, the demand of all of those products were decreased. So they had to buy all the British products or the manufacture that they were producing in Britain. The next one is back to land movement, as because they were earning no profit. So all the producers, they had to shift their employment status to farmers. Like almost I have a data, like 66% of the working population was involved in agricultural sector in 1901, and it has been increased by 72% in the year 1931. So these were the commercialization of agriculture. Another one is the industrial and the commercial policies. So the objective of industrial and commercial policies of the British rule in India was, it was twofold. First one, their objective was to, they wanted to develop India as a market of all the manufactured goods that they were producing in their country. Like back then, there was a, they were experiencing, the British government, they were experiencing the Industrial Revolution. So all the produced goods and services, they used to sell those products in Indian market. So they are using Indian market as a market of a manufactured goods. Second one, they wanted to convert India into an agricultural sector, those who are only interested in producing the commercial goods. So instead of producing the food crops, they had to produce the cotton, jute, the sugarcane, etc. So to achieve those objectives, these were the commercial and the like industrial policies. These have been taken by British government. So what we have learned from the policies, like there were 5 things that we have got from the Indian economy on the eve of independence, that the policies that British government have taken. 1, introduction of Zamindari system and the Rayatwari system in New Land Settlement Act, which happened in 1793. The second one is the commercialization of Indian agriculture. The third one, decline of handicraft industries and due to the British trade policies. Fourth, back to land movement. And the fifth one, Indian economy developed a colonial economy. The agricultural economy was completely converted into a colonial economy with colonial exploitation of the farmers. So next segment is the state of Indian economy on the eve of independence. So there were few features at that time Indian economy was facing. What are the features? So I am not going to draw anything else because there is nothing to draw. It's a completely theoretical chapter. The state of Indian economy on the eve of independence, the first one is the colonial economy. Colonial economy. They have Indian economy was reduced to the state of colonial economy during the period of British rule, and almost like 77% of Indian exports, and while manufactured goods of for 79% of its total imports in 1913. They increased the level of export of commercial goods from Indian market. So the next part is the stagnant economy. Indian economy was completely the features like the backwardness of Indian economy was highly showing the poverty ridden economy it was. And the British per capita, during the British rule, the per capita income of uh, India was very very low. So there was a high rate of unemployment also. Poor and backward economy. So if a country is running with low per capita income, the unemployment rate is high. So obviously this is a indicator of a poor and backward economy. The next part is the stagnant and the traditional agriculture. So stagnant and traditional agriculture, why? Because our economy is completely agricultural based economy, and on that time we had to substitute the food crops into the commercial crops. So our basic characteristics of the economy was completely changed, and the result was completely devastating. So it shows a stagnant and traditional economy. So with industrial structure, the government have been taking throughout the ruling time. The policy was very weak. Industrial structure, there was a deindustrialization in the industrial policy, because there was a complete destruction of the handicraft industries and artisans industries. Indian Indian government was like then Britain. So they were using Indian farmers, they were using the Indian producers with their vested interest. So there was a deindustrialization at that time, and the economic structure and their policies were very weak. So the next part is a traditional structure. So our per capita income was very low. Like the 52% of national income was coming from the agricultural sector, 19% of the income was coming from the industrial sector, and the rest of like 29% of the income was coming from the traditional sector or the tertiary sector. So the percentage share of agricultural sector, the employment sector, they were sharing the most highest percentage of agricultural sectors. It was like almost 52%. So the occupational structure was completely devastated, and most of the producers, those who were engaged in foreign trade, they had to change their employment structure. They had to shift to the agricultural sector because of the back to land movement. Semi-feudal economy, why we are calling it semi-feudal economy? Just because it was the zamindari system was already existed at that time, where the land revenue and all the taxes were in a collective system. So it was a feudal system. And the capitalist system, because of the commercialization of trade and agricultural policy that the British government they have undertaken. So it was a mixed up of the capitalism and feudalism. So we can call it as a semi-feudal economic system. Semi-feudal. So this was one of the most important. And another one is the dismal demographic profile. Why it is called dismal demographic profile? Because the Indian population was continuously increasing, and the death rate was very high because of the poverty, because of the famine. These were one of the most important features. At that time, the poverty was increasing, there was a high death rate, the health sector, the education sectors, all of the sectors were in a very very bad condition, and the mortality rate was very high. So overall the demographic profile was very much in a bad situation. So it was a dismal demographic profile. So the last one is the unsatisfactory infrastructure. Obviously the overall infrastructure, if we can count it with the agricultural sector, if we can count it with the industrial sector, the overall economic sector was completely in a dismal position. Similarly, the social infrastructure, the education, the health facilities were very much in a devastating situation. So to sum up with the Indian economy on the eve of independence, so there was a low constant level of per capita income, the economy was stagnant, and the features were the backwardness of agricultural sector, traditional methods and the cultivation process were very much primitive, and the productivity was very low, and there was a dismal demographic profile like high death rate, the unemployment was very high, there was a back to land movement, so continuously employment shift from like the tertiary secondary sector to primary sectors. So overall the situation was in a distressed manner, and infrastructures were whether it was a manifestation of economic backwardness and the Indian economy during the British period. So it was like a completely continuous step by step systematic exploitation by the British government during the 200 periods, that the total periods when they ruled in India from middle of 18th century to 1947. So this was a very basic concept of Indian economy on the time of independence. So it's a completely theoretical and like a basic structure of Indian economy. So we will next session we want to continue with another important chapter, and I would like to continue with you all. So thank you very much. Again, my name is Ritika Majumdar, and this is it. Thank you.